Hello and welcome to a new video. Today I am bringing you my February reading wrap up, and it ended up being a pretty good month. I'm very happy actually with how the month went because I was worried, not gonna lie. So I did DNF one book. I'm just going to talk about that book now. It was Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. I did talk a little bit in my vlog about it. However, I am going to say it's nothing to do with the book. This very much set off a trigger for me and I had a breakdown. It's basically the way, obviously this is all about death, and it was the way he dies is very much a trigger for me. And I just then couldn't bring myself, even though Meg and Jem both told me that they're pretty sure it's not really mentioned again, I knew, and I tried to carry on reading it, but my brain just would not shut off from the fact that I knew how he died, and it just kept playing on my mind, and I just couldn't get into it after that. So I only read 45 pages of this, unfortunately, and I'm really sad about it because I really did think I would love this. But we move on. I finished 12 books in February, which is better. I've been very worried I was slumping, but I only read 10 books. I know I shouldn't say only, but for me, I only read 10 books in January. So to read 12 books this month hopefully means I'm getting back to my reading again. Those 12 books was a total of 4,884 pages, along with the 45 pages. That includes the 45 pages of Under the Whispering Door. And I listened to 22 hours of audiobooks, which is less than previous months. And I do think it's because I started watching Critical Role. So a lot of my time where I've got time to have headphones on, I've been watching Critical Role. I am going to try and half change that this month because there are a few audiobooks I want to get to in March, but that's for next month's wrap up. So I had 2 2-stars, 1 3-star, 4 4-stars, and 5 5-stars. So not the best month for quality, which isn't great, but it's fine. It's not, but oh well. So the first book was The Book Eaters by Sunya Dean. I really enjoyed this. This was a 4-star. I really liked the characters in this and I really enjoyed the story. Would I have liked it if it was a series? Yes. Do I still appreciate the fact that it's a very well done standalone? Also yes. I do think the way it's ended, you can sort of make up your mind about where it goes from there, but the main questions you have are answered, and that's the main thing, I think. I really felt sorry for the main character quite a lot of the time, and the way it was written really makes you feel for the character. So that was very well done, and I really enjoyed this. Next up we had Torrent by Gemma James. I actually forgot I read this, not gonna lie. This was a 2-star. This was not that good. So it was doing pretty well, not gonna lie. It's dark romance. It was I don't know if it was Kindle Unlimited or if it was a 99p book purchase, but I was doing okay with it. I'd read the trigger warnings. It was fine. And then the ending was terrible. I was fully this is a 2-3-star, but I'm invested. I want to know how this series continues. So I was fully ready to go and see how I could get my hands on the second book without paying a full book price. I was really hoping there was going to be a Kindle Unlimited or 99p or something for the second book. And then I finished this book and I just sat there staring at my phone with the Kindle app open. I was like, are you kidding me? So yeah, 2-star. I won't be continuing this series. It was not a good ending. If you would like to read this book, I will say check the triggers because, geez, lots of triggers. It is a dark romance. Are we shocked? No. I do think if I hadn't have looked at the triggers going in, I don't think I would have been able to finish this book. But knowing the triggers very much helped me get through this book. It was just a shame that I hated the ending. Next up we have Pretending by Holly Bourne. This is Holly Bourne's second adult contemporary. Now, I said in my TBR when I pulled this one out of my NetGalley mug that I was very, very scared for this, because, or words to that effect, because I did not like How Do You Like Me Now, which was her first adult novel, and I absolutely love her YA novels, so I was very worried. However, this was a 4-star. I actually really ended up enjoying this, and there was a lot of important conversations in it. I wasn't a massive fan of the main character. She seemed very juvenile at times, and I said that in my vlog, I think. Like, she was supposed to be like, I think 33, and she came across the same way as the characters in Holly Bourne's YA novels, and I think that put me off a little bit. But the actual story and the conversations that went on in that story were really good. I will say, check the trigger warnings, because if you've read Holly Bourne stuff, you will know they can be quite heavy on certain topics, and this one was very heavy on certain topics. I don't want to say what they are. Look them up if you need to. But yeah, I did end up really enjoying this book. It was an important read, I think, and yeah. Next up we have The Love Curse of Melody McIntyre by Robin Talley. I ended up loving this. This was a 4-star. I got this in a LitJoy in 2020, and I've been putting off reading it because it's YA contemporary romance, and you know, I've sort of fallen out with YA like recently. I don't know what my excuse was before last year. We're not going to talk about that, but I took a chance on this because I needed a book that involved like music for the Heartstopper readathon, and this one is all about them doing like stage shows and musicals for their like school play, and they did Les Mis, and there was a lot of talk about musicals, so it very much fit for that, and I really ended up enjoying this. I loved the love story. I thought it was really, really cute. The conflict was very predictable, but in that way that you don't so much mind, because it's a YA contemporary romance. You sort of expect it to be a bit predictable, so I actually really enjoyed that. But yeah, I really enjoyed this, and I would recommend this one. Next up we have The Fine Print by Lauren Asher. So me and Ash Buddy read this one. It's her favourite contemporary romance series, and this was a 4-star. Now, I have criticisms about this book. The male love interest, Rowan, really grated on me. He started off great, and then as the book went on, there was things he was doing and saying, and I was just like, I really don't like this guy. The epilogue, I wasn't a fan, but it made sense, so you know, I didn't deduct points for that. But the extended epilogue was unnecessary. We did not need that extended epilogue. We didn't need it, but we got it anyway. It was a 4-star. I can't remember if I said that. It was a 4-star, so I didn't hate it. I'm definitely continuing the series because I'm interested to see what the other 2 books are like. I wasn't as big a fan as I thought I would be, but I did like how I could sort of like picture Disney, because the park, like Dreamland, is essentially just Disney. So when there was a scene where they was like walking through the park and going on rides, I was just picturing Disney, and that was a fun time. Next up we have The Stranded by Sarah Daniels. For some reason I just keep going to say Hannah Daniels, and I don't know where the Hannah has come from. This book, holy Jesus, this was a 5-star. This was incredible. This is a YA dystopian. It is basically anyone that was on this cruise ship when this like apocalyptic war happened has to set sail on this ship to get away from the war, and loads of people like clambered on, and like it's a whole thing, and they've been living on this boat for 40 years, so obviously there's like generations that have been born on this boat. They're not allowed to leave. There are some exceptions to leaving the boat, but it is very strict, and just seeing the way the hierarchy in this ship, like on this ship, works and the politics behind it was just so interesting. And it mainly follows two characters. One who is like very much top of her class. She's like this close to getting her ticket off of the ship and going on to land for the first time, and she's this close to it. And then you follow the other character who is basically from like the below deck section, so like the poorer people. Like there's not really much education down there, and there's a rebellion brewing, and it is just so well done. I really enjoyed it. Then there's also another POV, I think, of one of the officers who's really not a nice person. But it was really interesting to see the different points of view and seeing the ship from the different points of view. And I just really enjoyed it. And I'm very excited to read the second book when it comes out because this was so good. Next up, we have Circling Back to You by Julie Tew. This was a 3-star. I was really disappointed with how much I didn't love this. I think it was a little bit bland. Like, the characters were okay, but the actual romance, I just didn't connect to the romance. Like, it felt kind of forced, kind of rushed, and I just didn't like how it went about. It just didn't make sense to me. And the background stuff going on just, again, didn't really make sense, all of it. And I was just a bit bored throughout the entire thing. And also, it's fade to black. Like, I genuinely thought it was going to be a bit more than fade to black. I wasn't expecting full smut, but I was expecting more than fade to black from an adult romance. And I know not all adult romance have to have, like, anything more than fade to black. You know, it is refreshing to see something that's not just described, but that's not what I went into this book wanting. So I was a bit disappointed on that front as well, which didn't help with the fact I was already disappointed in the actual story. So it all just piled on top of each other. Next up is possibly the worst book I've read this year, and it's competing with Rule of Wolves. It is The Handover by David M. Barnett. So I read this for the Barely Adulting podcast, which is obviously Lisa and Jem's podcast baby. This was February's book, and we thought, do you know what? It's a romance, but it's written by a man. Let's give it a go. Don't read this book. It's horrendous. Did I mention it's a 2-star? It would have been a DNF if I hadn't been reading it for a reason, like a podcast. So this is marketed as a like cute romance where like Daisy works nights, Nate works days, which might I add, a character makes a comment about, oh, Daisy should work days and Nate should work nights, but it's the other way around. And it's mentioned like 3 times in this whole book, and oh my God, I needed them to stop. Like, it wasn't funny the first time you said it. Stop. But anyway, on the back here, it says, an utterly charming and heartwarming love story and the perfect tonic for difficult times. Right, I want to know where the charming and heartwarming love story is, because it's definitely not in any of that, and barely in that. They hardly speak for the first half of the book, like at all. And then when they do speak, there's no like romance going on there. It makes no sense. And the author, it feels like, is covering up a lot of opinions he has about many things, mainly women and women's weight and many other things. Racism. Was there homophobia in this? I don't know. I can't actually remember because I'm trying to bleach it from my brain. Anyway, I'm going to leave the link to the podcast because that was an interesting one to record, because none of us liked it. 2 of us gave it 2 stars, 1 gave it 1.5. So it was an interesting conversation. So I'll leave that linked below in case you want to check it out, because it was funny. But then we was back on a high because I did my reread of This Savage Song by V.E. Schwab, and as much as this book breaks me, not as much as the sequel, I absolutely love it. I started tabbing it. That's how far I got, and then I got so engrossed in the book I forgot to tab. So I'm going to have to reread and tab this again at some point because I really, really want to. But yeah, I love this book. I love this duology. It is my favourite Schwab series. I'm saying series because we all know Addie LaRue's my favourite book. Don't know if you could tell. But I absolutely love this book. It's just, oh, Kate and August have my heart. I love them. Obviously, it was a 5-star again. And then this one was a bit of a shocking one. The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea by Axio ended up being a 5-star. Now, I wasn't expecting it to be a 5-star. I was expecting a 4-star. And you know what? It was a 4-star until the last 50-ish pages, where it made me so incredibly happy. I had to just mark it the way I did on Corpal, because it was just such a cute ending and I really enjoyed this. Like, it was a good book throughout, but that ending was just adorable and it really brought it up. I really, really liked the way the whole story was done, but especially the end. I thought it was really well done, and clearly Axio can write contemporary and fantasy. We're nearly at the end. The next one, I'm just going to tell you now, is my favourite book of the month. Now, it was almost The Stranded, and then I read this book, and when I tell you I'm so happy that I loved this, it is Any Way the Wind Blows by Rainbow Rowell. This is the final book in the Simon Snow trilogy, and I have been putting this book off. This book came out in 2021. I have been putting it off because I was terrified I wasn't going to like it, because Wayward Son was my least favourite. And I was scared at the direction it was going in. And Chloe was like, no, you need to read it. You're going to love it. And I was like, yeah, I will. And then I put it on my 30 books to read the year I turned 30 video, which I've ticked that off. And holy Jesus, this was so good. I am so happy. The whole story was amazing. The way the plot went was really well done. But then the ending was just everything I wanted. And I'm just so happy right now because I love Simon and Baz so much. And I'm so happy with the way it went. And there was a whole thing at the end which not only made me gasp, it made me cry in a happy way. And I was just like, this book is playing with my emotions and I love it so much. So I'm very happy with this. And it was my favourite book of the month. And I'm so happy. And then the final book that I read in February was a reread, and it was Lord of Shadows by Cassandra Clare. I had my heart ripped out again because we all knew that was going to happen. It's my 4th time reading this book, and I sobbed probably more than the other 3 times I read it. And I actually started crying about 20 pages earlier than I usually do, which was interesting. But I tabbed a lot. Can you see the blue? There's going to be more blue in the next book. I'm so excited. I love this book. I know a lot of people do not like the Dark Art of Isis series. I disagree wholeheartedly because it is my favourite series in the Shadowhunter Chronicles. I love Emma Carstairs. I love all of the Blackthorn kids. Like, they own my heart. And like the little cameos from Clary and Jace and Magnus and Alec, and I'm just, yes, I love this so much. And I'm very excited to talk about this because obviously this has a lot that happens that is very important to the story. It's not a filler book. I will tell you that. It is not a filler book. But I'm very excited to talk about it on the live show, which is going to be on the 8th of March. Let me check. Yep, the 8th at 7:30 p.m. GMT. I am going to have to remember that we are changing from GMT at the end of this month. Gonna have to remember. But yeah, yay. So that was my reading wrap up. I took part in 2 readathons. I took part in Heartstopper Readathon and Series TBR-a-thon. For Heartstopper Readathon, there was 2 books I didn't complete, but 2 out of 9 isn't bad. And then Series TBR-a-thon, I completed, again, 7 out of the 9. But I could probably fit books in for those other 2 prompts. Maybe. We'll see. So, yeah, I'm very happy with that. And I'm very, very excited because March is Marvelathon, so hopefully next month's wrap up is gonna smash this one out of the ballpark. I'm gonna have loads on it. We'll see how that goes though. But let me know in the comments what your favourite book you read in the month of February was, and if you took part in any readathons in the month of February. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you next time. Bye.